There is something quietly powerful about a great haircut. Not just the way it changes how you look, but the way it changes how you feel when you walk into a room. And if you're a woman over 60, you already know that the right cut can lift your whole presence, soften your features, and bring out a version of yourself that feels alive, current, and completely your own. But here's what most women don't realize. Not every haircut works in your favor after 60. In fact, some of the most popular styles that look beautiful on other women, can actually add years to your appearance without you ever suspecting why. The difference between looking 10 years younger and 10 years older can sometimes come down to a single decision at the salon. In today's video, we're going to walk through 3 haircuts that genuinely take years off your face. Cuts that work with the natural beauty of mature hair rather than against it. And we're also going to talk about 3 haircuts you may want to reconsider, because as much as you might love them, they could be quietly working against you. This isn't about rules. It's about choices. And the more you understand, the better your choices can be. So stay with us, because by the end of this video, you're going to walk into your next salon appointment with so much more confidence than you ever have before. Haircuts that make you look younger. The soft layered bob that frames everything beautifully. Let's begin with one of the most transformative haircuts available to women over 60. And one that is genuinely having a moment right now. The soft layered bob. If you haven't considered it yet, this might be the conversation that changes everything. Here's what makes the soft layered bob so special for mature women. It works with your face, not against it. As we move through our 60s and beyond, the natural shape of our face shifts slightly. The jawline softens. The cheeks may become a little less defined. And a blunt, heavy bob, which we'll talk about later, can actually emphasize those changes in a way that feels harsh. But a soft layered bob does the exact opposite. The layers in this cut create gentle movement. When your hair moves, it catches light differently at every angle, and that movement creates the illusion of volume and vitality. 2 things that mature hair sometimes loses on its own. Instead of sitting flat and heavy against your cheeks, a layered bob lifts, falls, and frames your face in a way that feels natural and youthful without ever looking like you're trying too hard. What makes it even better is how customizable it is. Your stylist can adjust the length, whether you prefer it at the chin, just below the jaw, or grazing your collarbone, and they can tailor the layers specifically for your face shape. If you have a rounder face, longer layers can elongate your features. If your face is more oval or heart-shaped, softer, shorter layers can add lovely balance. Now let's talk about what to ask for at the salon, because the language matters. When you sit down with your stylist, ask for soft layering, rather than heavy graduation. Tell them you want the layers to begin around the cheekbone area, and feather gently downward. This creates that beautiful cascading frame around the face without creating a choppy or uneven appearance. You can also ask for light point cutting at the ends. This softens any bluntness and gives the hair a more natural, lived-in finish that feels effortless and modern. The soft layered bob pairs beautifully with silver, white, and naturally blended gray hair. In fact, silver hair in a soft layered bob is one of the most striking and sophisticated combinations in beauty today. The layers allow light to play through the silver tones in a way that makes the color look intentional, dimensional, and absolutely stunning. One more thing worth mentioning. This cut is incredibly low maintenance. Because the layers are soft and the shape is forgiving, it grows out gracefully. You're not chasing a very precise shape every 4 weeks. You have a little more breathing room between appointments, which is always a welcome bonus. If you've been wearing the same cut for several years and it no longer seems to be doing what it used to, a soft layered bob might be exactly the refresh your look has been waiting for. It's timeless, it's flattering, and right now, it is everywhere. From editorial pages to real women walking into salons and walking out looking like a newer, more vibrant version of themselves. Why the modern shaggy lob feels like a second chance. If someone told you 10 years ago that a slightly undone, textured cut could be one of the most flattering things you ever did for your appearance after 60, you might not have believed it. But that is exactly what the modern shaggy lob, or what some stylists are now calling the Beige-influenced lob, can do for the right woman. Let's slow down and really understand what this cut is, because it's easy to look at the word shaggy and picture something unkempt or wild. That's not at all what we're talking about. The modern shaggy lob is a medium-length cut, typically landing between the chin and the collarbone, with carefully placed texture built in through soft feathering, light curtain bangs, and intentional movement throughout the layers. It's polished but never stiff. It's styled but never overdone. And here is the genius of it for women over 60. It embraces texture in a way that works beautifully with mature hair. As our hair naturally changes in texture, sometimes becoming finer, sometimes actually gaining a lovely natural wave, this cut leans into those changes rather than fighting them. Instead of trying to make your hair behave perfectly straight or perfectly smooth, a shaggy lob gives your hair permission to be exactly what it naturally is, and it looks extraordinary doing it. The curtain bangs that often accompany this style deserve their own mention. Curtain bangs, soft, parted fringe that falls gently on either side of the forehead, are one of the most forgiving and face-flattering bang styles available. Unlike blunt bangs that sit straight across the forehead and can sometimes draw attention to fine lines, curtain bangs frame the upper face with a soft, romantic quality. They create the appearance of higher cheekbones, open up the eye area, and add a touch of effortless elegance that works beautifully at every age, but especially after 60. What you'll want to ask your stylist for here is soft interior layering. Layers built inside the cut that create movement without removing too much weight from the outside shape. You'll also want to discuss whether curtain bangs are right for your particular face shape. A skilled stylist can tailor them so they complement your features perfectly. And the key finishing instruction? Ask for point cut ends, not blunt ends. That single technique is what gives this cut its signature softness and makes it look effortless rather than dated. The styling routine for this cut is remarkably simple. A light texturizing spray on damp hair, a quick diffuse or air dry, and perhaps a soft pass with a large barrel curling wand on the ends, just enough to encourage the movement that's already built into the cut. For women who prefer a sleeker look, it can also be smoothed down beautifully with a round brush, giving it more of a polished editorial finish. This is a cut that photographs beautifully. It creates that slightly undone, naturally gorgeous quality that feels current and vibrant. The kind of hair that makes people stop and notice without being able to quite explain why. And isn't that exactly what we're looking for? Hair that makes a quiet, confident statement. Hair that says you are someone who knows herself, loves herself, and isn't afraid to show it. The tapered pixie that celebrates every feature you have. Not every woman over 60 wants to keep her hair long, and there is absolutely no reason she should have to. In fact, for the right face shape and bone structure, a beautifully executed pixie cut is one of the most striking, confident, and age-defying things a woman can do with her hair. But here's the important distinction. We're not talking about just any pixie. We're talking about the tapered pixie. And the difference matters enormously. A tapered pixie is sculpted. It's intentional. The sides and nape are cut close, sometimes with very soft fine graduation, while the top retains enough length to allow for texture, volume, and movement. The result is a cut that is architectural in the best possible way. It draws the eye upward, elongates the neck, defines the cheekbones, and highlights the eyes in a way that longer styles simply cannot. Here's what makes the tapered pixie so specifically powerful for women over 60. At this stage of life, our bone structure becomes one of our most beautiful features. The angles of the jaw, the prominence of cheekbones, the graceful lines of the neck, a well-executed tapered pixie reveals all of that. It doesn't hide your features behind a curtain of hair. It celebrates them. And silver or white hair in a tapered pixie, it's genuinely one of the most beautiful combinations in modern beauty. The short length allows the color to look intentional, polished, and bold. There's a reason so many style icons, the ones whose photographs you save and admire, choose short, tapered cuts as they get older. It's not because they're out of ideas. It's because they've discovered that less truly is more. Now, one thing we want to be clear about, because this is important, is that the tapered pixie is different from a pixie that is cut too short all over with no shape. A shapeless, too short pixie can feel harsh and strip away femininity rather than celebrating it. What you're looking for is a cut with considered length variation. The top should have enough movement that you can style it with soft texture. Push slightly to one side, tousled gently upward, or smoothed into a sleek side part. That choice of styling makes an enormous difference in how the cut reads. When you're sitting with your stylist, ask specifically for a tapered nape, which means the back of the neck is gently graduated rather than bluntly cut. and ask them to leave length through the crown and fringe area. Tell them you want to be able to style the top. Ask about texture on the ends. A few carefully placed snips of point cutting can make the top feel soft and lived in rather than blunt and masculine. The styling routine for this cut is genuinely one of the simplest you'll ever have. A small amount of light hold styling cream or pomade through the top, a little finger styling or a soft brush, and you're done. On most days, you're looking at under 5 minutes, and the result looks completely intentional and beautifully considered. This is a haircut for the woman who is ready to stop hiding and start being seen. It's confident, it's current, and in the right hands, it is absolutely breathtaking. Haircuts to avoid after 60. Why the very long one-length style often works against you. Now let's shift gently into the other side of this conversation. And please hear this in the spirit it's meant, which is entirely one of care and honesty. The styles we're about to discuss are not wrong. They are not unflattering on every woman, and beauty will always be personal. But there are certain haircut choices that, for many women over 60, tend to create an effect that is the opposite of what we're hoping for. The first of these is the very long, one-length style with no layering whatsoever. This is a style that tends to create a few challenges specific to mature hair and mature facial features. First, very long hair without layers is heavy, and as hair gets longer and heavier, it tends to pull downward, which means it pulls the face downward along with it. Instead of lifting your features and creating upward visual energy, it drags everything toward your chin and jaw. This can make the lower face look heavier, can emphasize jowling if it's a concern for you, and can create a visual weight that feels aging rather than graceful. Second, very long, one-length hair without layers tends to flatten against the head, and flat hair reads as lifeless hair, even if it's perfectly healthy. As our hair naturally loses some of its youthful density over time, flat one-length styles can make that loss of volume more visible rather than less. Third, and this is subtle but important, very long hair without movement can create a dated silhouette. Styles that were popular in the 1970s and 1980s, while beautiful in their time, can unconsciously communicate a specific era rather than the current, vibrant woman that you are today. If you love your length, and many women do, and that love is completely valid, the solution isn't necessarily to cut it all off. It's to ask your stylist to build in some soft, face-framing layers. Even a few strategic layers around the front of the face can change everything. They add movement, they lift the features, and they break up the heaviness that comes from one-length styles. You can keep your length and still make your hair work harder for you. You just need to give it a little structure. The key instruction for your stylist: ask for face-framing layers that begin at the cheekbone and gradually lengthen as they move back. Ask them to keep the back longer if you love the length, but allow the front sections to do the lifting work. That simple adjustment, face-framing layers on an otherwise long style, can make a genuinely dramatic difference in how current and energized your look feels. So if you've been holding on to your length and wondering why your style never quite feels as fresh as you'd like it to, this might be the answer. Your length isn't the problem. The absence of movement is. And movement is something your stylist can give you in a single afternoon. The blunt, heavy bob that can add years instead of subtract them. The second style we want to talk about is one that might surprise you, because the bob is genuinely one of the most enduring and beloved cuts of all time. And we are not saying bobs are bad. We love a great bob. But there is a specific version of the bob that consistently creates a less flattering result for women over 60, and that's the blunt, heavy one-length bob with no internal movement. Here's what happens with a very blunt bob. The weight line, the thickest, densest part of the cut, tends to fall right at the jaw. And when a heavy weight line sits directly at the jaw, it can visually widen and square that area. If you've noticed that your jawline or lower cheeks have softened over the years, which is completely natural and happens to all of us, a blunt bob sitting right at that point can actually emphasize those changes rather than minimizing them. There's also the issue of movement, or rather, the lack of it. A blunt bob without layers sits very close to the head at the sides, and that close-sitting shape can sometimes emphasize changes in facial fullness in a way that feels unflattering. It's a very precise, very graphic cut, and precision requires everything around it to also be very precise. It can be unforgiving in a way that softer, layered cuts are not. This is very different from what happens with a stacked bob or a layered bob, which we absolutely encourage. The stacked bob, where the back is graduated and stacked so that the volume sits higher, near the crown, creates an entirely different visual dynamic. It lifts the eye upward, creates beautiful silhouette energy at the back, and doesn't drag the weight line down to the jaw. A stacked bob is a wonderful, flattering choice for many women over 60. The layered bob, as we discussed earlier, also avoids this problem by building movement into the cut, so the weight is distributed throughout rather than concentrated in one heavy band at the jaw. So if you currently have or are considering a bob, wonderful. But ask your stylist to avoid the blunt one-length technique, and instead build in some gentle layering. Or consider a stacked back that lifts the silhouette. The difference between a blunt bob and a beautifully layered or stacked bob can genuinely be the difference between looking heavier or lighter, older or younger. One small but powerful detail your stylist can add. Ask for slight graduation or invisible layers on the interior of the cut. These layers won't be visible from the outside, but they'll create internal movement that keeps the hair from sitting flat and heavy. It's a technique that makes the most of every strand, and for women with finer hair, it can feel like an absolute transformation. You deserve a bob that works for you, not one that works against you. And with just a few small adjustments in technique, the bob can absolutely be one of the most flattering cuts of your life. The overly short, tightly permed style that belongs in another era. The third style we want to gently bring up, and truly, this is offered with so much warmth, is the very short, tightly permed style that became a kind of default option for women of a certain age for many decades. You know the one. Very short all over. Tight, uniform curls that look set and sprayed into place. A shape that doesn't change regardless of the weather or the occasion. This style has been referred to lovingly as the wash and set. And for many women, it was genuinely convenient and practical. We completely understand the appeal. But here's what has changed. Hair science, styling products, and cutting techniques have advanced so dramatically that the reasons this style made sense in previous generations simply no longer apply. The tight, uniform perm creates a very specific silhouette, one that is circular and wide at the sides, and that circular width can make the face appear rounder and shorter. For most face shapes, horizontal width at the sides of the head is not the most flattering direction. We generally want visual height and upward energy, and the tight perm silhouette tends to work against that. There's also the issue of texture. Very tight, uniform curls can sometimes read as stiff or processed, even when they've been freshly done. And stiffness in hair communicates age rather than vitality. Hair that moves, falls naturally, and looks like it chose its own texture looks so much more alive and current, regardless of the actual cut. What's a wonderful alternative? If you love curl, and curl can be absolutely gorgeous after 60, consider a loose, natural wave instead. Ask your stylist about techniques for encouraging your hair's natural texture, rather than applying a tight chemical curl. Modern perms have evolved dramatically. A loose body wave, applied with modern techniques, can give your hair the volume and movement it may have lost while looking completely natural and beautifully soft. Or consider a cut that enhances natural wave, like the shaggy lob we talked about earlier, where the style is designed to work with and celebrate whatever texture your hair already has. The goal here is always movement, always life, always a silhouette that lifts and frames rather than circles and rounds. And there are so many beautiful ways to achieve that. Ways that are far gentler on your hair and far more flattering to your face than the styles that used to feel like the only option. You have more choices now than any generation before you. The hairstyle landscape has never been richer, more diverse, or more genuinely flattering for women over 60. The only question is knowing which choices to reach for, and that's exactly what today's conversation has been about. Your hair has always been a part of your story, and the beautiful truth is, that story isn't finished. Not even close. Everything we've talked about today comes back to one simple idea. Your hair should be working with you, not against you. It should be lifting your features, adding energy to your presence, and reflecting the woman you are right now. Not the rules of a decade that has long since passed. Whether you choose a soft layered bob, a modern shaggy lob, a tapered pixie, or something else entirely, what matters most is that you feel like yourself, that you walk out of the salon feeling seen, and beautiful, and absolutely at home in your own reflection. Because that feeling? that is ageless. You deserve a haircut that celebrates you. And now you have a little more knowledge to help you find it. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path.